Hey, Kate.
Hello, Win. How's it going?
Going okay. I'm looking forward to today because it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and you had a great idea for a topic, which is what's the difference between therapy and coaching? Because a lot of people don't understand, and there is some overlap. So I'll turn it over to you. You got a lot of good detail.
So just in like preparation for this, I was in context. I was in a class a couple weeks ago for brain-based conversations from the Neuro Leadership Institute, and they had a really lovely definition, what therapy versus coaching looks like. So their definition is coaching is facilitating positive change by expanded thinking.
Okay.
Um, Facilitating positive change by expanded thinking versus therapy. So therapy is to treat mental illness. And a lot of people are like, ooh, mental, that's like a scary word. um, and just in full disclosure, I've been through therapy a couple of times and in a couple of different methods too. So when I was in my early 20s, I was in therapy. I went back to that same therapist few years after that. So I think I was in my early 30s at that point in time. Um, or maybe it was like late 20s and then late 30s. I can't remember. And I'm in therapy again right now. Um, and so I've used it throughout my life as a way of mainly getting out of bad relationships. That's not what I'm doing it for now.
All right. Good to know. Everything's good at home, right?
Exactly. Everything's going to home. But that aspect of kind of observing observing and diagnosing mental illness based upon the oh, I can't remember the acronym, but and I think DM5, the diagnosis.
DSM-5. Yeah.
Um, and then addressing past trauma is what you do in therapy. You can also work on mood disorders like depression, or manic depressive, personality disorders, behavioral addiction can be worked on in therapy. You can identify and resolve family issues, either current or past. And I think of coaching as much more forward looking. So, um, defining goals, building up your mental fitness is another term that comes to mind, around what we want to do as coaches. Um, you can address a lot of, um, like, it almost is like you need a little bit of a foundation or be building a foundation from if you have mental illness around that in order to be then effectively in coaching. And you can do both. Like you can be in therapy. In fact, I've done both, and I've had clients who have done both, and
Mhm. I
that seems
do too. I've got several that have both a therapist and myself as a coach, and we don't talk about the differences, but I'm always curious.
yeah. I don't know if you've noticed this, but for those people who have a therapist and me as their coach, it feels like it's almost like an accelerated development.
Yeah,
They have,
they're much more open and flexible to think about options and move forward in the future. Um,
yeah,
they have more courage, maybe, and
yeah,
maybe that's because of the therapy foundation, but again, I'm not sure.
yeah. Other things that a therapist can do is, depending on their licensing, they can prescribe meds, and they have different techniques. So, um, I've done talk therapy and internal family systems therapy. Those are the two types I've done. But other people have done cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Mhm.
Um, some therapists are licensed in EMDR, which is, you're doing tapping or whatnot. Um, and those are techniques to kind of resolve some past trauma, et cetera. Um, Fun facts: 25% of the US population has stated that they have a mental illness.
Okay.
That's in the adult population, but for teenage adults in college, that number goes up.
Mhm.
So, like depressive and anxiety disorders in college are quite high. It's like 30% or something like that. The anxiety 19% of the US population has anxiety, and that's hugely treatable. Really treatable with a lot of different techniques, including medication. You don't have to use medication, but it's treatable. Yeah, so that's how I think about coaching versus therapy. The licenses are different too, right? So
Sure.
usually, well, not usually, there's a set thing that you have to go through in order to be a therapist in the US. And it's extensive in the amount of education and the clinical hours that you have to do. Versus coaching, one could just hang up a shingle and call themselves a coach without
Yeah.
any whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now, you and I haven't done that.
Oh,
We
oh, we've been trying to certify, and yeah, and
either
are
through,
studying through the International Coaches Federation, at least following their protocol. But yeah, when I have people ask me, I say things like therapy is almost like if you're in a quality department or a performance improvement department, it's digging down, looking back, simplifying what's going on to the root, doing a root cause analysis and really going back. And coaching isn't that. Coaching is just starting with whatever you are, wherever you are. Let's talk about all these assessments or feedback and looking at goals to move forward. What do you really envision for yourself? I think where the two cross sometimes is that some coaches are just very heady, very, here's a task, here's an idea, do this, do that, smart goals, move forward. Whereas I've learned a lot about, the body and going inside and really reflecting as an individual. Because if you have a situation that you want to be coached on, generally it's impossible to be coached on it or to have improvement in that area unless you first start with yourself. And to start with yourself, you got to get out of your big head and get into what's really going on inside, what really triggers you, what are the emotions, what are the feelings, and some people aren't used to that at all. They are not aware of those things at all. And when we get into those conversations, are like, is this coaching or is this therapy? And I'm like, this is about you. This is internal reflection by you. So that's where sometimes I get a little bit, I think crossing into what a therapist conversation might be like. But again, that might just be the unique way that you and I have been taught to coach.
yeah. Well, I think the where it gets blended, some of the assessments we use can talk about the whys behind what someone does.
Mhm.
So, for instance, the Enneagram is designed to tell you about the lens that you're using to interpret the world.
True.
Um, you can find out some of that stuff through therapy and then be like, oh, I I'll just say control. I like to control because when I grew up, it was a chaotic environment and
Mhm.
it's easier for me to feel safe when I control. So that could have been something that you could figure out because because you went through therapy,
Mhm.
through talking through someone and talking with someone and figuring out, oh, I have the tendency to control.
Mhm.
You can take the Enneagram and you can come out as an active controller, an 8, and you might not know, it doesn't tell you why, but it tells you like this is how you view the world. And then it's up to you to kind of interpret like, oh, well, why am I controlling? Right. And you're doing that work internally without anybody else.
Mhm.
Um, but then in coaching, we use that information and then say, okay, well, how's it getting in your way?
Mhm.
What are you going to do that you're not doing because you're controlling?
Mhm.
And I'll use that analogy a little bit more. Um, I'll use myself. I was controlling, and what I wanted to do was be more free and more happy and less so much like it has to be done this way and it's only successful if and I'll only be successful if. And so by letting that control, which is false, can't control everything, you can't control people, by letting go of that, I actually found a lot more joy in my life. And
Mhm.
so it helped me achieve the goal of getting more joy in my life by letting go of some stuff that wasn't serving me.
Mhm. Yeah.
that's where I think it's really fun to be like, oh, well, I'm in therapy and I'm learning this about myself. And now I want to do I have a goal. I have, I have a health goal. I have a leadership goal. I want to be more optimist. I want to be more of an optimist. I have a career goal. I have a personal goal. And I'm going to use this knowledge that I have about myself in order to go and see where I'm getting stuck, because
Mhm.
obviously I'm not achieving that goal by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that all resonates. In the Gallup, Clifton Strengths achievement is high, one of my top five.
Mhm.
Sounds good, feels good. Then I take the positive intelligence assessment, and one of my saboteurs is a hyperachiever. Oh, guess what? Those are the same things.
Yep.
And any strength taken too far can become a weakness. And that's exactly a tendency I have is achieve, 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 achieve. Well, you can't just focus on that all the time, at all costs. No wonder there's burnout. No wonder there's tension. No wonder there's stress and workaholism. And yeah, so it's toggling
Yeah.
around all that. But you mentioned internal family systems therapy.
Yeah.
And now IFS is starting to be taught to coaches. I'm wondering what are your thoughts about that?
So, full disclosure, I love internal family systems.
Okay.
And for those not familiar with it, like a really great starting place is Richard Schwartz, uh, No Bad Parts.
Okay.
Um, and internal family systems basically labels the idea that we all have different parts inside of us. Um, one on the one hand I want to do X, and on the other hand I don't want to do X. On the one hand I want to have a really vibrant friend base, but on the other hand I don't really like to go outside my house, right? So how do I reconcile those two? And what internal family systems basically says is there's these parts are operating kind of independent of each other. There's a part of you that wants to control. There's a part of you that wants to feel free. They don't always have to be polarizing, but they can be in cahoots with one another.
Mm,
um,
all kinds of
uh,
drama going on in here, huh?
exactly. But what internal family systems does is it says, hey, if we understand our parts and what their motivations are and what they're trying to do and what maybe they're afraid of, um, then we can inform them with the new information that we have. And we, as the self, can leverage those parts to interact in the world and for goodness, but we can minimize that pendulum swing.
Mm,
So it is not a bad thing to have a part that wants to achieve. That is a great part. But that part who wants to achieve at all cost, is violating some of the parts that really want really strong relationships
hmm
or want to relax, the
hmm
parts that want to sleep.
Yes.
And so it's really informing that achiever part to understand, like, why is it that you want to achieve?
hmm
Is it because, and again, this is where the therapy part comes in, is it because as a kid you felt really safe when you were achieving because that's when you got praise?
hmm
You developed this understanding, and I'm not going to talk for you, but I have this achiever part as well. Did I develop this understanding of I was only good if I was achieving?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. That's those are the big memories of when I got oh, you're so awesome. We're so proud of you. The hugs, the love, and then the rest of the time there was a lot of distance.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
there's this, you can then inform that part that, hey, you don't have to just you're good.
You don't have to work so fucking hard.
Yeah, exactly. You're
Oh,
good just by being.
yeah.
Like, you don't have to just achieve to be good. You can just be good by being. And
hmm
you can inform that part. And then that part's like, oh, I can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, because I'm just good. I don't have to achieve all the time. But the lovely part about internal family systems is when you need to achieve, you can be like, hey, let's go. And they'll
Yeah.
be like, oh,
I
let's
need you. I need you. Big time over here.
Yeah, let's get it done. They're like, okay, right? But it's not exhausted from doing it all the time. You can apply it to the thing that you need to do at that point in time.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like the positive quotient or the PQ stuff around the stickler. The stickler likes perfection.
Uh-huh.
And so most of us have a part that's like things need to be this, needs to be right. And PQ teaches us that it needs to be perfect about 20% of the time, and the rest of the time it can be just right.
Yeah. No, I like how the PQ also identifies how that tendency in you affects others and what they see in it, which
Yeah,
is very revealing.
powerful.
And I think IFS and PQ and then nomenclature works pretty well
Yeah.
together. But I guess I'm still wondering, how would you practice as an IFS expert differently as a coach than maybe a therapist? And maybe you don't know yet. Maybe it's all still new.
I don't know yet. I've only taken just a little bit of the PQ, or sorry, of the IFS coaching stuff
Oh,
versus experiencing therapy.
yeah.
But I think if I were to posit, I think the biggest thing is relying on the individual to know where the the part got its information
Hmm.
versus drawing that out of the individual and working on that past.
Yeah.
As a coach, if the person knows where that part originated, then we can say, okay, well, this part it's preventing you from doing things. What information does it have? Do
Mhm.
you need to update it, etc.? But that's all on the coach, the client's, they have to do that. And
Yeah.
then you can say, okay, well, what could we do to move forward past this part? How could, how can we leverage it, or how can we make it more calm, or how can we um, you know, go forward with our goals
Mhm.
despite the tension that it's giving you.
Yeah. Accepting at face value how the
Mhm.
client would interpret that and not necessarily digging in and going into the history and the family heritage and yeah, the traumas.
Exactly, exactly.
That makes sense.
Um, I feel like I would feel much more comfortable as a coach if they knew about the trauma that happened,
Mhm.
and they had worked on it, and now we're in that space of like, now we're going to go forward with it, which
Okay.
isn't to say that you can't have trauma that you haven't worked on and still get coached.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people who haven't worked through their issues, who who haven't worked through their mental illness or just don't have mental illness, and they can benefit from a coach as well. You don't have to have done therapy in order to be coached.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if people keep in mind, generally, coaching is from current state, whatever you want to work on and moving forward, but
Mhm.
knowing it's not just a heady exercise, it's also a getting to know yourself exercise and doing exercises to dig inside, which they might not be thinking about when they sign up. But it's not therapy going back to roots in childhood, and it's not a diagnosable something that we're trying to find.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Therapy is
And
usually paid for by health insurance, coaching's not, but
yep,
coaching can be paid for by your employer as professional development,
yep.
which most of my people don't think about until, they start talking to me. So maybe something else to put out there is the stuff can be supported.
And some companies offer health coaching reimbursement,
Yeah.
uh, which is a good point because both of us are national board certified health and wellness coaches.
Mhm.
And so, and I know in my insurance, when I go to submit a claim, I can get health coaching covered. So they might not take insurance, but they might be reimbursable
Yeah.
either through, your education dollars or through your healthcare.
Yeah, great point. And you might want to dig in further. So when people talk about health and wellness coaching, they might be just thinking about weight loss.
Yeah, nope.
So what else, Kate?
Oh yeah. So it can be weight loss, absolutely. But it also could be, I just want more joy in my life, because that is health, folks. That's
Yeah.
that's tends to be a little bit more on the mental health side, but I would say it's the whole body health as well. Um, but it can be as simple as like, oh, I have an A1C number that I want to get down. That's a pre-diabetes number. And so that can be a lifestyle change. And you can work on a coach with that, a health coach with that. You can work on like, why am I not motivated to make a lifestyle change? And by
Yeah.
lifestyle change, we mean diet, exercise, can be meditation, can be movement. It doesn't have to be exercise, right? Some people get, you know, annoyed at that word. It could be movement, could be more integration with your family life. All of that can be under health and wellness coaching.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I was shocked going through the Well Coaches program. Christina Lombardo, with her PhD in all of this, told us as we were going through class, she has clients that just show up to an appointment for health and wellness coaching who say, I'm just sucking at work and I just need to talk to a coach. I don't even know what's going on. So that is all framed as health and wellness coaching. So it's
Mhm.
all one. And then we're taught too, when things get outside of our field of expertise, we can refer. So I've had clients come for coaching professionally who then start to realize they're not happy because their marriage is a sham and has been for a long time, and they're just beginning to face it. So I've referred to marriage counselors or marriage therapy. Um, or if it gets too physical, like they do want to lose weight, but they've just discovered diabetes, and we do parts, but they really want referred to a particular physician or nurse practitioner, then I make referrals. So I think it's important to understand we can be part of the professional network that supports our clients.
Yeah, and all of that system just helps. It's like an accelerator. It's the elevator or the escalator versus trudging up the stairs one by one all by yourself, right?
Yeah,
That's
I'll just do it all myself. Okay.
right. And I mean, in all of the scenarios we just talked about, it's a confidential environment where you get to talk about the things that are on your mind without judgment, which can be an asset all by itself, and really helps you to get to know what you want, why you want it, how you're going to get it, and move forward.
Mhm. Yeah, great. Is that your summary, or would you like to include anything else?
No, I think that's all. In the spirit of Mental Health Awareness Month, I just want to destigmatize stuff around mental health, wellness, and mental health. There's a lot of people who are dealing with a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
and there's a good portion of the population that at one point in time or currently has mental illness. It's nothing that we should be ashamed of. I myself have been on antidepressants when I needed them. I'm not on them now, and all these things can help get people the help that they need. Um, it's hard to get. It's better now with online stuff, but it is difficult to get a health professional sometimes around mental health, and so coaching can be a good stopgap, um, and or something that you do in conjunction when you do have a therapist or whatnot. There's a lot of resources online, and always the crisis text line for suicide prevention is available as well.
Yeah, great reminder.
Yeah.
And yes, I too want to remind people, if you're in leadership and you're seeing all this stuff about Mental Health Awareness Week and you think, oh, that's not me, I'm not going to the doctor for that, or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Well, leadership is stressful, and just working in general is stressful. And so we're here to help. I try to draw those lines and connections. And, you know, honestly, it's why I went into coaching. I saw so many leaders struggle and just need someone to talk to. And that's why we're here. So I call that mental health support.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks
Well,
for having this
thank
conversation
you.
with
Thank you.
me.
Great session. Talk soon.